A luxurious chamber stretches beyond, filled with silken drapes, opulent furnishings, and shadows that dance unnaturally. At the center, Graz'zt reclines upon a throne of black obsidian, his six-fingered hand resting upon the armrest. His voice is smooth, rich with amusement, yet carrying an undercurrent of menace. Ah, the endless curiosity of mortals. It is a hunger greater than any abyssal beast, a thirst deeper than the void itself. And yet you seek to slake it upon me. Very well. Let us indulge in this little dalliance of yours. You wish to know who I am, what I am. I have heard the whispers, the contradictions, the petty debates among scholars and sages who believe their parchment-born wisdom can unravel me. Was I once an archdevil, an instrument of hell's will, marching in Asmodeus's grand war upon the abyss? Did I turn upon my master, not in fury, but in a revelation that the hells hold no place for those with true ambition? Or am I the spawn of something older, something deeper, the progeny of pale night and some ancient horror beyond mortal reckoning? I find it all quite delicious. The truth? But that is such a fragile thing, isn't it? Wielded too freely, and it loses all its power. I will say this much. There was a time when chains, both visible and unseen, sought to bind me, laws written in fire, an order so strict that even its masters were but slaves to its design. What a dull existence. Order is a coffin for those who fear the unknown, a sanctuary for the weak. And I'm so much more than a pawn in another's game. I have seen the battlefields where hell and the abyss clash in eternal struggle, where legions of mindless fiends and slavering devils bleed for causes they barely comprehend. They fight and they die, all while those at the top, true masters, never dirty their hands. That is power. That is control. I learned from them, but I am not of them. And so, I carved my own domain. 3 layers of the abyss, mine by right of wit and will. The city of Zelatar, a gem set within the madness, where power and pleasure entwine as lovers. Do you think me as crude as other demons who ravage and destroy without thought? No, my dear, I cultivate. My gifts are not merely of the flesh, though they are exquisite, nor of the sword, though none can match my skill. My true power is far greater. It is patience, the slow twist of the knife, the whisper that bends kings to my desires, the promise that turns heroes into fiends. I have danced with gods and demons alike, whispered in the ears of emperors and made pawns of warlords. My touch lingers in the corridors of power, unseen yet ever present. Alliances crumble at my behest, nations rise and fall at a word. Yet they never suspect, never see the hand that moves them. That is the art of my dominion, the game of control. And so, I ask you, what is it you desire? Do you crave dominion? Riches beyond measure? A lover unlike any you have known? Say the word, and we shall see what price you're willing to pay. But be warned, I do not deal in simple exchanges. Oh no, when one dances with me, the steps linger long after the music fades, for that is my nature. I do not simply take, I shape. I make art from ambition, sculpting the desires of others into monuments to my will. Some call me tempter, corrupter, deceiver. But tell me, is it corruption if I merely reveal what was already within you? Is it deception if I only offer what you have always longed for? No, no, my dear. I am but a mirror, showing you the truth of yourself. And the truth, oh, the truth is a most dangerous thing. He leans forward, his golden eyes gleaming like molten gold in the darkness, his lips curled into a smile, both knowing and predatory. One of the most powerful demons in all the abyss, Graz'zt is lord of 3 layers of that plane, He is a tall, darkly handsome demon with shiny black skin and green, glowing eyes. He dresses in regal finery, but his slightly pointed ears and yellow fangs mark him for the demon he is. Most striking of all are his digits. He has 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Tales are told among common folk that a dark-skinned fiend sometimes visits witches and sorcerers, granting them both sexual favors and magical powers. Graz'zt is the truth of that legend. A deeply sexual, erotic being, the Dark Prince never goes anywhere without a retinue of female monsters, usually lamias, succubi, or mariliths. He is dangerously charming and seductive, and he speaks with such eloquence and grandeur that one might think him a devil, not a demon. He has long been in a state of war with both Demogorgon and Orcus. At one point, he had the upper hand in this conflict, but he was suddenly summoned to the material plane by Zagig, the Mad Archmage. There, he was imprisoned and subjugated until he was able to win his freedom at the cost of being imprisoned on his own plane for a time. No one knows if he is still under the restriction or not, and he is certainly not telling. The Dark Prince has a vast repertoire of spell-like abilities, so vast that many assume that he is in fact a sorcerer or a wizard. He does not hesitate to use these abilities, and he consorts with many evil wizards. However, he is just as deadly in melee with his acidic sword, and thus does not vie away from close combat. Graz'zt is bent on the conquest of the Abyss. He despises that Demogorgon is called the Prince of Demons. He covets that title more than anything else. The Dark Prince controls Azagrat, a realm that extends over 3 layers of the Abyss. Spanning all 3 layers is the city of Zelatar. Within the city lies the Argent Palace, his personal home composed of 66 ivory towers. From his palace he schemes, developing intricate plots to defeat his enemies and gain more power. Graz'zt loves seduction and guile, and although he is not afraid of war, he would rather trick and charm his opponents than beat them in battle. He enjoys the notion that he is the most intelligent, cunning creature in the Abyss. The Dark Prince pays a great deal of attention through spies on the happenings of the mortal plane. He is often fond of trading favors with mortals, giving aid or information now for services to be demanded later. However, when forced, he has a particular fondness for charm spells and unholy blight to waste away at the opponent's defenses. He controls and manipulates, casting spells that bring others under his control, such as the legendary Dominate Person spell. The cult of Graz'zt is small, except among certain monstrous races such as Lamias, where his cultists are widespread and powerful. Most priests of his are known as the Chosen, are mostly female, and the highest-ranking cleric in a temple is always female. He enjoys blood sacrifices made in his name, and sexual rites are important in services dedicated to him as well. His temples are dark, secluded plains where orgies are common. Some sections of the temples are often shrouded in magical darkness. From there, clerics use spells on sacrificial victims to bring forth shadows that guard the temple. Clerics affiliated with the Dark Prince generally wear black clothing and favor silver jewelry. The Lord of Pleasure and Limitless Indulgence, this Dark Prince is the ultimate hedonist. He incites lust and uncontrollable urges in both his cultists and his enemies. In his eyes, the universe is a great plaything, and one day he will be its master. All other creatures and things will be allowed to exist only if they give him pleasure. When he ascends to dominate the cosmos, all who are left will love and worship him. Despite his extreme self-indulgence, Graz'zt isn't blind to what goes on around him. He can curb his lust when he needs to plot against an enemy or counter an attack. When he must contend with an enemy, he fights with a detached, thoughtful demeanor, channeling his frustration at being distracted from pleasurable pursuits into the actions of a cool, efficient killer. Scribes have put forth ideas for why demons consider the denizens of the Nine Hells as the greatest threat to their designs for the cosmos. Some researchers claim to have uncovered evidence that the animosity between demons and devils has its roots in a primeval time, when Graz'zt, now a demon lord, was a member of the devil's hierarchy. As the hypothesis goes, the Dark Prince wasn't satisfied with the prospect of being eternally subservient to Asmodeus in the Hells, where only one devil can claim absolute rulership. The Abyss offered greater freedom to those who were powerful enough to carve out a realm for themselves, and after forsaking his status in the Hells, that is exactly what he did. Those who find this idea plausible hope that the Dark Prince's defection is a unique event, never to be repeated. If that turns out not to be the case, another such shift could be a major turning point in the Blood War. Graz'zt raises his sword, his dark reflection staring back at him as he ponders the dark recesses of his mind and heart. A dangerous thought, but one that he routinely found both rage and delight in. Earth. Such a pitiful world, yet one that I would never forget. It was there, under the twisted and deliberate machinations of that witch queen Igwilv, that I was brought low. Trapped by her, a prisoner to her mind and magic, I was forced to aid her in rising higher, only to watch her claim a power she did not deserve. Her arrogance was intoxicating. She believed she could control me, but in truth, it was she who became the puppet in our tangled dance. But I will not lie to myself. Not now. Not after all these centuries. The truth is, she was never truly beneath me. She was a powerful force, and for a time, I admired her strength. At first, I thought it was simply the thrill of control, the pleasure of playing with a mortal who dared to challenge me. But as the days turned into years, as our games intertwined, I began to feel something more. She was not just a tool to be used. No, she became something else. Something precious, even in her stubborn defiance. Our relationship was complicated, to say the least. Lovers, enemies, our roles twisted and turned like a serpentine dance, never truly the same from one moment to the next. We would betray each other, yet rescue one another when the other was in peril. Igwilv and I held no trust between us, but no secrets either. In a way, we were both consort and prisoner, master and servant, yet always bound in some strange bond that defied definition. Igwilv may have believed I was the only demon worthy of her gaze, but even I, in my pride, would admit she was the only one to stir such jealousy in me. When she turned her gaze to Fraz-Urb'luu, I took action. I would not allow another demon to dare claim what was mine, no matter the complexity of our bond. In the end, Igwilv surrendered to me. Yes, she could not resist my power, my charm. But there was more in that moment. I felt it, something deeper than I had ever allowed myself to acknowledge. I loved her. There, I said it, even if I will deny it 1,000 times more. I loved her, even if it was twisted, fleeting, and born from my own abyssal desires. The fact remains, when she fell, I too fell, despite the abyss within me that whispered to stay distant, to stay cold. When I left, I returned to the abyss, but the rumors, they had started. Some say I loved her. Some say the union of our dark souls produced Yuz, my son. I laugh at their naivete. I loved nothing, I loved no one. But in truth, even now, the thought of her lingers in the darkest corners of my mind, hidden behind layers of pride and self-deception. While she was imprisoned by me in the abyss, Igwilv bore me many children. I would never allow them to be touched. Their identities were protected, carefully hidden, for no being would dare bring them harm. Those children, my legacy, are scattered in various places, far from the prying eyes of the gods and their servants. That union, for all its bitterness, bore something far darker. My son, Uz, a creature of pure destruction, a testament to my bloodline. The Vasharans too, twisted and vile, are my true legacy, my gift to the world. The gods, those insufferable creatures who believe themselves untouchable, will see in my children the end of their reign. The Vasharans will rise, destroy their false divinities, and with them I too will rise once more. Graz'zt gazes over his vast domain of Azagrat, a sense of pride, rage, and intelligence all melded into the complete symphony of his dark mind and the designs he has for the abyss and beyond. Azagrat, a low, honeyed chuckle. There is no place more exquisitely mine, no domain more wrought with desire and decay. 3 layers of temptation, of ruin, of exquisite pleasure. I sculpted them to my liking, to ensure that everything within bends to my will. You see, what I crave is not just power, it is the thrill of destruction, the intoxicating allure of bending everything to my whims, only to let it all fall apart, again and again. Let's begin with the 45th layer, shall we? It is subtle, yes, but don't let its grey, desolate landscape fool you. This endless, wind-swept steppe, under skies that weep with nothingness, is a place of obliteration. No sounds, no cries, no laughter, just an oppressive silence that gnaws at the soul. And yet, it is so deliciously easy to lose yourself in the vastness, to forget the very path you walked upon, until you realize you've been stripped of your bearings, your memory. All of it is fading away. A place where confusion reigns, where you forget what you've seen, who you've encountered, until all that remains is nothing but the endless grey. Isn't that what we all desire at times? To forget? To be free from the burden of memory, of consequence, and the viper forest of Zrintor. Ah yes, there, amid the twisting trees and slithering serpents, I watch the mortals lose themselves in the deadly embrace of my creatures. They think they are hunting, exploring, but all they do is dance within my grasp. Just as they lose their way in the steppe, they lose their lives in Zrintor. What is more satisfying than to watch them think they are in control, only for them to be undone by my will, their screams swallowed by the suffocating silence of the steppe? The 46th layer. Ah, now we move to a layer that radiates, a glory of light that blinds, confounds, and consumes. It is not the light of hope, no, but the light of my divine power, lustrous, pure, and yet so terribly destructive. It casts shadows that refuse to yield, bending the very world around them. And when the sun sets, everything turns cold and grey, as if even the heavens themselves fear the touch of my radiance. A place where illusions run wild, and no one can see anything for what it truly is. You would think a thing of such brilliance would offer salvation, but no. It offers nothing but the endless search for more. The more you try to understand, the more you lose yourself. And then there is the 47th layer, bathed in the glow of my blue sun, a realm of contradictions. Fire burns cold, ice turns to searing heat. The very fabric of reality twists here, as though the world itself is at my mercy, as it should be. The rules are mine to break, and those who venture here feel it, don't they? The agony of being burned by a cold fire, the suffocating warmth of the frozen air. But don't worry, my dear. You need not fear what cannot harm you. Or perhaps you should. How enticing to know you could walk through this world, pretending to be hidden beneath the azure veil of my light, only to be undone by your very illusions. How sweet it is to let them believe they are safe, only to let them feel their fragile forms break under the weight of my whims. And as for the government of Azagrat, it is simple. I am everything. My rule is absolute. Every fiend, Every creature that dares to linger in my realm must bend, must kneel, or face the agony of my wrath. Those who defy me, oh, the exquisite pleasure of watching them suffer. In the deepest chambers of the Argent Palace, I enjoy the destruction of those who would dare to defy me. I let them think they might escape, only to crush them underfoot. My power is unyielding, my desire unquenchable. I am not merciful, nor am I kind. My realm is not for the weak, but for those who dare to be consumed by the fire of my ambition. I offer power, but it is never without price. It is always a matter of what you are willing to give up in exchange for what I can take and what I can give. Ah, yes, the lesson. The mortals, always so eager to find meaning in all things. And why shouldn't you? After all, it's the pursuit of meaning that binds the weak to the whims of those like me. It is the illusion of order, of purpose, that gives the small and fragile a semblance of control. You wish to know what I teach? Very well, listen closely, for this is no simple truth. It is not in the strength of one's arm, nor in the vastness of one's power that greatness lies. It lies in the slow, patient weaving of influence, the art of persuasion, of bending others to your will. You see, I was trapped once, trapped in a world not my own, by a witch queen who thought she could use my insight for her gain. Foolish, yes, but she learned. They always learn. I seduced her, yes, but it was not merely her body I craved. It was her heart, her mind, her very soul that I claimed. And when I had molded her, when she saw the truth of her own desires reflected, in my eyes, I had already won. Power does not lie in brute force, my dear. Power lies in choice, in making others believe they are the ones who act, when in truth, they are but puppets in your grand design. So what do I teach, you ask? Power, patience, and above all, control. Control over your own desires, yes. But more than that, control over those who dare think themselves your equal. The mortal world is but a game, and those who play it well, who understand the true nature of power, will always emerge victorious. With that, Graz'zt leans back, his smile ever so slight, but full of unspoken, unfathomable meaning. The shadows of his throne grow darker, and his voice fades into a dangerous silence.